The coronavirus has been spreading like a fire. There's zero doubt about that. We are all inundated with statistics from all over the world every single day, apprising us actually, of how it's going. And articles have tended to focus on how this is happening from a physical or physiological or medical point of view. Droplets, viral load, wearing masks, how close you get to people, replication of the virus, all that stuff. That's been talked about to death almost. But there's been one writer recently, a man named John Katz, that has made an observation, who has made an observation that is on a higher order. I'm not surprised to learn that he's older. Tends to get less involved in drama. He's already seen all the drama. He's 72 years old, similar to myself, and can step back from the drama and make observations about, some more fundamental things that are happening to enable the spread of the virus. For example, now he didn't specifically mention this, I'm adding this to his comments. The United States now has surpassed in deaths every other country in the world, including Italy, where it just went crazy for a while, including China, where it started. And we're far from the most populous country in the world. The deaths are just everywhere here. And he offered an explanation why, and it was something I've talked about with Donna before, but I like the way that he says it. He observes that the demands of social distancing, which has proven to be the best single prevention of the spread of this disease. The demands of social distancing are coming up against what he calls radical individualism and selfishness in this country, elsewhere too, but he's predominantly talking about us. That's actually a redundancy. Selfishness, meaning completely focused on ourselves. Well, what is radical individualism? Well, it sounds cooler, certainly more politically correct to say, well, that's just radical individualism. No, it means you only think about yourself. It's called selfishness. And he says So the social distancing has come up against radical individualism and selfishness, born of a society, and he's talking about us, in which we, quote, count our money, pay our bills, shrink into the digital world, and forget how to talk to people face to face. Oh, think about that for a second. Play it back. In great part, is what he's saying, the disease has spread in this country because of our own selfishness, our own unwillingness to behave in a way that would contribute to the good of all. Social distancing is the number one effective tool. And yet, Katz says, the coronavirus is in great part a moral threat and an ethical challenge because it asks each of us to be mindful of ourselves and to police ourselves for the good of all. Short of jail, it's pretty difficult for a government to socially distance everyone. That requires our cooperation. And frankly, he didn't use this term, we suck at it. There was a Twitter lately where there was a 30-year-old woman in Las Vegas who wrote and probably had pictures, I didn't see the pictures, that she was enjoying a hamburger in a crowded restaurant, quote, because this proudly, you can hear the tone of voice, probably wearing, doesn't matter, because she said, because this is America and I'll do what I want. Oh, that was perfectly said. She'll do what she wants despite the health and government officials urging her to stay at home and everybody else in the restaurant. I'm not picking on her. I don't know who she is. And telling people to do that so that we can stop the spread of the virus. Twitter users, interestingly, were outraged. But they all have their own different forms of selfishness to deal with. We all do. All of us, me included. The I don't want to attitude is seen everywhere. Throngs of college students massing on Florida beaches until the governor finally said to them, quote, the party's over, end quote. No kidding. People all over the country that I hear from every day by email and other means who are having barbecue parties, who are having drinking parties, churches who are putting on their social media site how they're out there helping first responders, to the spread of this virus. And it shows the people taking selfies with people touching faces. No kidding. And they advertise that as contributing to social isolation. Doing, I don't know what you call that, a selfie, a twinny, thirsty people. I'm sure there's a word for it. Joseph Stieb in the Washington Post said, quote, for the past 3/4 of a century, Americans have largely not been asked to sacrifice for the good of the country. They've been told by advertisers, by each other, by media, even by the government, that's my aside, that they can fulfill their responsibilities as citizens by being consumers, by buying stuff to keep the economy humming. Paraphrasing now, I would say it this way. Now that we're being asked to be selfless and wise, it feels really weird to hear, even annoying. Well, but we've been selfish for decades. We've done whatever we want to because I'm an American. Well, you still can do what you want to. And as you do what you want to, you get to experience the consequences of it. You get to make the choice, then you get the responsibility of either getting sick yourself, or a more unfortunate responsibility is that we're responsible for spreading a disease to some people who die, and we'll never find out who those people were. In almost every case, we won't know who it was that we killed. They died miles away and weeks away. We've been consuming for so long now that we think it's who we are. Our children have, this is why we're talking about this in a discussion about parenting. Our children have watched us be selfish, consume, me, and they have simply mimicked us. That's why they're so entitled. They didn't make this up. And then we wonder why they act entitled and snotty with us. Not a mystery. We've been self-absorbed for so long that the vast majority of us simply do not, this is tough to say and to hear, we simply don't care about other people. Now, we claim to care about some, like our families. But I've discovered over and over again, so many times I could say over and over for, the next several hours, that we care mostly about our own discomfort. We don't teach our children important principles, life-saving principles, for example, because it would be difficult for who? Us, me. Very often we even do things for our family, buy them things, let them do whatever they want to, and now I'm talking about parenting, so that we can earn their approval, or at the very least, avoid their disapproval. It's still selfishness. It's radical individualism. The bottom line is that the spread of this virus is evidence of a much deeper, more difficult problem. Our strong inclination to do the easy, selfish thing, rather than thinking of others or even how a given behavior, anger, victimhood, defending, entitlement, will affect us down the road. By being selfish, we get what we think we want in the moment. But in the long term, like the virus, it bites us, it makes us sick, and sometimes even kills us. We can do better. That's why we're here on this Facebook Live right now, this second. A mother wrote me about a family gathering where 3 kids were having fun playing a game. They were laughing and being light and having a good time. And suddenly, the party was over. One of the kids, a teenage girl, left the room, and the kids began picking at each other. The entire atmosphere of the room just changed. She wasn't part of the interchange. She could just hear it. Mom could simply have said, as many parents do, well, I guess the fun is over. Actually, many parents wouldn't even notice that anything had changed. She noticed that something was different. She could have said, oh, well, kids just do that. Well, they moved on to something else. But if we're listening, that means paying attention to everything, including sudden silence, facial expressions, everything. I watched Donna's face all day long. I listened to her tone of voice, my partner, my wife. I listen carefully. Why? So I won't get in trouble? Because often she will have a need or a pain or a fear or a whatever, like the rest of us do, and she hasn't quite put it into words yet. And rather than let it fester and get worse and worse, I just say something's off. And then she realizes something is off, and we talk about it, and usually that's the end of that. We tend not to pay attention to people like that. Like I was just talking about, we're so selfish and entitled that we pay attention to our needs, desires, appetites, and good luck to everybody else. But Mom was paying attention. So she asked the 2 kids that were remaining in the living room, one left, remember, what had happened. No surprise, they said, one of the possibly the most common answer to any question children are asked by parents. I don't know. It's classic. There should be a symbol. I mean, we have little emojis for everything else. There should be a little symbol for I don't know. Mom didn't quit. Most parents would. Oh, well then, okay. So the house isn't on fire, so we're okay. The fact that, there's a burning match in a garbage can. She found the daughter who had left the room. She figured that daughter who left the room is probably more affected and would know. And she gently asked, what happened? Predictably, the daughter said, nothing. It's like, what happened to school today? Nothing. What'd you learn? Nothing. Did you go to school? That's when they realized they can't say nothing. So it was obvious that something had happened. It was all over the daughter's face. But we don't see that unless we're looking. So why would the daughter say Nothing. Nothing happened. Because she didn't trust her mother to what? To really listen. Mom has asked her that question many times before, and as the daughter has shared some feeling, the mother has blown it off, changed the subject, said, well, dinner's ready, something, hasn't listened. So the daughter's learned that, why should I answer if I'm not going to be listened to? She'd failed to listen to their daughter so many times that now the daughter was reluctant to say anything. She had learned that mom didn't listen and would often change the subject, sometimes blaming her, the daughter, for either the event that just happened or some event from the past. So mom decided to finally do something about this pattern of not listening. Instead of just talking, she's been watching these Facebook Lives. She's taken the ridiculously effective parenting training. She understands that if you ain't listening to your kids, they ain't feeling loved. She said, honey, I haven't listened to you all your life. I've talked and talked, but I haven't really listened. I want to change that. I promise you that we will sit right here until you tell me that when you've spoken, I have really listened to you. I'll sit here until you feel satisfied that I'm hearing you. Now, would you be willing to tell me what happened in the other room? Because something did. I saw things changed and I watched you walk out, and you weren't walking out with a spring in your step. The daughter decided to trust her mother. Do you know why? Because her mother just told her the truth. Because her mother said, I've been terrible at listening to you, but now I want to try. And the daughter, disarmed by mom's truth-telling, her honesty, actually, the bottom line is her vulnerability, disarmed by that, the daughter's going, well, this is different. Cool. Why not give her another try? So the daughter said that the three kids have been playing a game, and her sister, out of the blue, for no reason, whatever, which is common for kids, they just say whatever pops into their head often. Her sister said, quote, it's really simple. You know that you put too much makeup on this morning, don't you? That's it. That's all she said. She didn't call her fat and stupid or ugly. No, you know you put on too much makeup. And then the sister who said that smirked, making it clear that, you know, you put too much makeup on, comma, she didn't say it, stupid, moron, whatever. It was a criticism. Mom said to the offended daughter, now remember, it's just mom and the one daughter now. She said, when she said that, your sister, you felt criticized, teased, laughed at, belittled, didn't you? And her daughter began to cry and nodded. Now this is crying and nodding after saying nothing happened, because mom was vulnerable and listened. That's the difference you can make in your children. Like today, mom continued, and you felt small and stupid. The fun was over, wasn't it? Now the daughter's weeping, and all she can do is just nod. This is darling. This is so sweet. And how long did this take? People say, how long does it take for the effects of unconditional love to make a difference in your children? Well, I just showed you. A minute? Maybe. You got a minute to spend with your kids and do it different? Then mom said, I have really let you down. I have let you down. Your siblings have said things like that before to you, and I didn't do anything about it. That was my job to do something about it, and I didn't stop it. And I didn't come to you and express some kind of understanding. In fact, sometimes I've been the one to say something stupid to you, haven't I? The daughter now is just nodding vigorously, and tears and snot are pouring down her face. Mom says, do you feel listened to now? Her daughter reached out and hugged her mother. Oh, I can see it. I can see it in my mind. I can feel it. The girl felt loved. That is the power of real listening. It's unbelievable. Then mom talked to the daughter who had done the mocking the one that had made the comment about the makeup. And she was not irritated. She talked to her separately. If you're going to point out something a child's doing, usually best to do it separately. If it's in a family meeting, then everybody gets to learn from it. But she took the girl aside and she didn't say, you've made a mistake. You were bad. You were unkind. You start attacking her. That just doesn't work. She simply asked the younger girl if she had understood how her comment might have been unnecessary and possibly hurtful. The younger girl recognized it immediately and agreed. Why? Because she's really bright and sensitive? No, because mom was being loving as she taught. That's why I talk constantly about loving and teaching. If mom had gone in and just said, do you know what you just did? Oh, the girl would have started off with, I don't know what you're talking about, and then progressed to, it wasn't me, I wasn't in the room, and then, well, but she did something to me first, and well, I didn't mean anything by it. You've heard all the excuses, right? She admitted it because mom was loving. That's why. There was no criticism. And now the daughter is less likely to say such an inconsiderate thing again. After the girl agreed, mom didn't then say, don't you say such a thing again. That's just stupid to do to our kids. No, you just be aware. Love and teach. It doesn't say love and teach and control. It doesn't say that. Love and teach. Love and teach and belittle. Love and teach and intimidate. No, love and teach, done. And then they tend to behave better because guess what? No, this is going to shock you. They're good kids. And when good people are taught a principle that works better, and then they see that what they did was, well, not only ineffective, but unkind and cruel, and you're loving while you teach them that, they go, well, maybe we should skip the unloving and cruel. And they do the more effective thing. Your kids learn better when they're loved and taught. Pay attention to this example, really. This is huge, what I'm telling you, this second. All of this connection that happened, connection that most parents at least say they would give anything for. When I describe events like this to groups of 1,000 parents at a time, they go, oh my goodness, I'd give anything to have a moment like that with my daughter. Actually, both moments. The moment with the daughter who was insulted, the moment with the daughter who was insulting. Beautiful, loving, golden moments. And parents say, oh, I'd give anything for that. I'm thinking, apparently not. We talk about it, but we don't do it. All this connection happened because mom really listened. Not just to words, but to feelings. She noticed that the atmosphere in the room changed. That's listening. It wasn't it's a little bit of sound, but it was different. Brief metaphor. And then I'll let go of this particular bone. Today I was outside. Walking down a path to the shed. And I was admiring the ground cover over to the right and other plants that I'd planted over the years. And I was going, it's really beautiful and looks natural and relatively weed free. And I was just enjoying it. It was like soul filling. No kidding. I know, crazy, but looking at all these lovely plants that I'd put in the ground. In the midst of one patch of ground cover, I know you're curious, Liriopes spicata, I noticed one weed poking its head up. And I thought, oh, that doesn't matter. But then a little flash of OC, little obsessive compulsion kicked in, and I went, oh, and I stepped over to pull up the weed. And then I thought, just for fun, let's see if there are any other weeds. So I stood in one spot where I'd pulled that weed. My feet were planted. I was bending over, stayed in one place, but I pulled only the weeds that I could reach from that one spot in about the 100 or 160 degrees or so right in front of me. It could be 180, but I'm too lazy to reach out to the side. And I pulled up all the weeds just right in front of me. There were 37 weeds. in a patch that as I was passing by, I went, beautiful. There was just one. They were small. You could say they didn't mean anything, but they all would have grown. And one day, a week, 2 weeks from now, I would have walked by and thought, whoa, who planted all these weeds? It would have happened because I wasn't really looking, like really listening to our kids. And I know I'm not saying we should be all OCD and we should pull every weed in our garden. That would just turn gardening into no fun. But with our children, we have to see them. The problems, we must see them while they're small, or they will grow. And they grow to the point where they become nearly impossible to pull. I've done that with weeds many times where I've had to dig them out with the shovel. And even if you can pull them, you sometimes pull out the surrounding good plants. Get them while they're little. Pay attention. Listen closely. Listen to the faint whisperings of mood, attitude, spirit, if you'd like, the atmosphere, the universe. You can call it anything you want to. If you're listening really closely, like this mother was, you'll hear and you'll be able to do something about it earlier. It is a fantastic way to live. We can all learn to do it. I'll see you tomorrow.